Well, here we are again. Jake here on the show that was formerly known as Underachieving with Jake has now been rebranded. It's been renamed. It's now officially Trophy Dad. And it's going to be strictly like where Underachieving with Jake was, talking about video games. And I say, here we are again because, of course, whenever there's Miles Morales news, there's losers on the internet that continue to try and spark culture war nonsense when talking about Miles Morales being Spider-Man. It's like they, for whatever reason, they cannot accept, and I'm not saying it's because, well, maybe I am saying it's because he's black. I really feel like that's the story, because there's no other explanation. Really, because every other Mantle character they seem to be fine with. But when it's a different race, there seems to be some sort of problem. You don't, at least I didn't notice, freakouts about Dick Grayson being Batman. I mean, yes, Twitter wasn't that old, because I think one of the more recent times it happened was around 2009. But they haven't had the uproars about that like they have for Miles Morales. And it's hard not to think that. I'm not outright calling these people racist, so I don't want anybody to think that and get the wrong idea. That's not what this is about. This is just saying I'm noticing a pattern. They only seem to complain about Miles when it comes to Mantle characters. And they like to start this culture war nonsense every freaking time. So the news came out this past week in an interview with one of the writers for Spider-Man 2. They said that Miles was going to step into the role of being the lead Spider-Man. Because if you had played, spoilers, had you had played Spider-Man 2, you would understand that they were always setting that up throughout the game. Now, Yellow Flash, which the irony of this guy complaining about Miles Morales while being Yellow Flash, a different version of the Flash, regardless. The news comes out, this happens, and people get upset about it. Because Peter is being shunned, being pushed out for Miles Morales. Even though most of the game is about Peter and Harry's relationship and all that, and Venom. And there's also the Miles storyline. That Miles has to deal with Martin Lee and his storyline, which, for the most part, takes a back seat. And we'll talk about that later. But that whole thing was setting up Peter taking more time off as Spider-Man and spending more time with Mary Jane. Especially in this universe where Aunt May is already dead. So, of course, and everything he had to do, almost kill Harry to get the symbiote off of him. Which, by the way, the symbiote that had rejected him took over his friend and almost took over all of Manhattan and New York and the world. But again, this is what we're dealing with. Any time there is news about Miles Morales, they go flood to Twitter and they say, Miles Morales is Miles Morales. Because for whatever reason, they think that's this fun little own. Even though Miles Morales, in the 12 years of his existence, has been one of the most popular characters that Marvel has had. Don't let them tell you any different. Just look at the Spider-Verse box office for a frame of reference. Look at how many times or how well those books sell. I mean, look how well the PS5 game sold. And they're going to discredit that like Melanie Mack does, who we'll talk about. She discredits that in their video because of you got to also account for all the people that bundle the Spider-Man Miles Morales with the PS5. Do you do that with every game when it launches with a console? And it's just the constant moving of the goalposts. So let's get to the usual suspects. I got a few clips, a little bit more than I expected, but they're not very long. So we're going to talk about Melanie Mack first, who, if you follow this channel, you know I'm not a huge fan of. starts off her video about Miles Morales in a fun way that is just fun for everyone.
Miles Morales is Miles Morales. However, you know just as much as I do,
Sick joke,
they have
bro.
been trying to shoehorn Miles Morales into Peter Parker's Spider-Man space. Miles Morales is the real Spider-Man now because we are completely eliminating an existing character and pushing him out of the picture. He doesn't matter anymore, especially, well, first they're going to cuck him, then they're going to push him out of the picture.
Again, this is from someone who clearly, and she has stated that she has not played this game. So again, she just assumes that because Miles is taking over, that Miles has to be pushing out Peter, and Peter has to be getting ruined to build up Miles, which is not what happens at all. It gives Peter a chance to be Peter. He hasn't been Peter for a long time because at this point of the game, he has been Spider-Man for almost a decade. And he wants to spend some time with his girlfriend, Mary Jane. His aunt fucking died. He almost had to kill his best friend. Context matters. And this was a perfect opportunity. You know what you hear all the fucking time from these people, especially Geeks and Gamers, who we'll talk about later, Jeremy and all of them? They always complain. They always want to say that it's the story. They push aside a story, or they don't develop a story well enough for these characters to justify being their status or whatever the stupid shit they have to do, whatever goalposts they have to move. This is a good story. This is an example of a great way of passing the torch. She goes on to, her and I had an exchange on Twitter about Peter getting replaced. And I said, Peter's not getting replaced. The torch is being passed. Well, that means he is getting replaced because, and then they're justifying it with a story. You think? They're just going to let Miles be Spider-Man without building that up, explaining that at all, developing that at all. They're not going to do that. And then to just look at this at face value, having no context to this game, just to give it that response. They're taking away all of our characters. Do you mean white characters? Also, if you're excited about the game, Melanie has a funny joke for you.
You are, you have ingested enough soy to actually want to play the game. If you need to take your soy and leave from the video, that's okay. I understand. I don't know how regular, like, super Spider-Man fans, right? Because, I mean, I grew up with Spider-Man. I like Spider-Man. But I'm talking super fans, like the equivalent of how I am with Lara Croft and Tomb Raider, for example. I don't know how they can actually tolerate this duo, even the duo, not even to mention the Miles Morales taking over, but just the duo element of it, because I just know if there was a Tomb Raider game that came out and it's like, oh, here's a secondary character that's going to take up half of the limelight, I would be furious.
Again, hadn't played the game. You would think, given that there's two Spider-Men, you would think that there would be a pretty even split. I got something to tell you. This is still mostly Peter's story. Yes, Miles plays a part in it. Miles is important in this story, but it's still mostly about Peter. It's mostly about his relationship with Harry. It's about Harry's struggle with addiction. It's about Harry's struggle with Peter's struggle with addiction because of the suit. It makes him powerful. And when Doc Connors wants to take the suit from him, he says, no, it makes me a better Spider-Man. You see my point? To think that, again, Peter gets pushed away and pushed aside for Miles is fucking asinine. Because they do so much great work in this game, building up Miles, making him a great character, and doing so much to make you be excited and be proud of this kid because he's becoming the Spider-Man that he should be. And you're seeing Peter actually be a good mentor. And I don't know, maybe Peter doing this and being this older brother figure, maybe it makes him want to have a family. Maybe stop being Spider-Man. Melanie, the last clip I have from her is she's wrapping up her video, and she's wondering if this Miles-led game will do well. brushing aside the sales numbers for Miles Morales, Spider-Man Miles Morales, because of all the times it was bundled with the PS5. So, take it away, Melanie.
And without it being a part of a bundle or something special like that, what's it just going to do on its own? We'll see. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe people will love it.
I guarantee you'll be wrong.
I don't know. I think a lot of people are getting sick and tired of seeing their faves be taken over.
That's not what's happening.
And I mean, the Miles Morales the animated Spider-Verse cartoons did well. So I guess there's potential. And speaking of those, I liked the first one. I refused to watch the second one after that trans kid flag that was in Spider-Gwen's room. I was like, no, that's it. I don't care. I don't care if it's an obscure thing. Like, I'm not gonna do it. Not gonna do it.
What a fucking snowflake. What a snowflake. An obscure thing that if you weren't looking for, you would notice. And you're not gonna watch a pretty good movie. Pretty damn good movie because of that. Pretty dumb. Moving on to Geeks and Gamers with his nuanced takes. Jeremy, of course, bringing the heat. So he reads the same article that Melanie reads, and he has this opinion on it. And guess what? It's the same thing over and over and over again. It's the same excuse for every diverse character.
It's always about with this nonsense. This is what it's always about. You can't let these characters live on their own. You can't create any characters from the ground up to have their own path and their own story. You always have to have them hijack someone else's story in the name of diversity, inclusion, and representation. This is the laziest garbage I have seen.
Have you played the game, Jeremy? Have you played the game? Because I guarantee no, not you, I guess, because you're just a bad faith idiot. If you would actually come in with an open mind and understanding of Miles and Peter's relationship in this universe, it wouldn't seem so lazy. I've already explained how it's set up and how it works in the context of that story. It's just... You see that Miles Morales is getting the spotlight, so you automatically jump to, well, it's a diversity thing, and this, that, and the other. It can't be that people actually like the character. You will never give Miles the benefit of the doubt, despite all the money that those Spider-Verse movies made, despite how popular his comic books are, despite how well Miles Morales, the video game, sold. You haven't even played the game. And if he has played the game, he really didn't fucking get it, which is worse on him. One more time. Jeremy, Geeks and Gamers, let's do it again.
Essentially what that means is when people don't actually support this game because Peter Parker is not the focus, they're going to bring Peter Parker into it so they can bait you into buying it because they know that this character, Miles Morales, cannot stand on his own. He can never pull
those movies,
what Peter Parker as Spider-Man would, so they're going to have to use Peter Parker to elevate Miles once again. That is exactly what that means because anybody who uses this method, these creatives, are cowards and they don't have any confidence in these characters whatsoever. So they want to hijack and use these iconic characters, and then they want to throw them away, make them look weak so they can elevate the new, diverse character, the better version of the character. And then, of course, when that character can't actually continue to sustain the popularity that the previous one did, they have to use that one, drag him back out there, and get a few cheap pops from him. That's exactly what they plan on doing.
I hate you, Jeremy, so much. You know why? Because this is a 5-minute video. This dude shit this video in 5 minutes. Read a little bit of an article, and then proceeded to give his generic talking point response that he gives to anything from these companies. Anything. And again, talks about the laziness of it, or they're cowards, they don't want to take chances, and they don't want to do these things. Do you, seriously, do you not understand legacy characters? And I want to, again, bring this back. Would this same energy be around if this was a Batman game. Say it's the first Batman. It's Batman doing his thing, and then Dick Grayson shows up. He adopts him, and then Dick Grayson shows up. But then, in between, we have a Nightwing game. That would be your Miles Morales game. And then we come back. Maybe not Nightwing in that situation. But let's just use this as an example. We don't have to follow this exactly to a T. So say, for example, Batman, first game, he's Batman, right? Then, at the end of that game, he finds Dick Grayson. And Dick Grayson becomes Robin. And then at the end of that game, Batman's starting to think that, hey, maybe Dick could be Batman. Dick says, you know what, Bruce, take some time off. Let me be Batman for a while. Would it have the same level of uproar that Miles is getting for this? Yes, there would be detractors. There'd be people not upset about it, I'm sure. Although Dick Grayson is a very beloved DC character, as he should be. Sure, there would be some people that would be upset about that, but not because it's Dick. It's not because that Robin is taken over or the fact that it's Dick Grayson. It's just the treatment that Miles gets is just because he's Miles Morales. Now take that with you will. Is it a racial thing? Maybe. Just saying. All that hate that Miles gets for this would not be the same for Dick Grayson. It wouldn't even be the same for Jason Todd even. I'd go that far. Tim Drake? No. Do you see this level of anger and freaking out when, say, it's a Wally West instead of Barry Allen? No, you don't see that. One final batch of clips. 2 clips left. Let's go with Yellow Flash, which, again, hilarious. This guy complains about mantle characters when he himself uses a mantle character as an avatar. So here's what he thinks of Spider-Man 2. And you're going to love this criticism.
In my opinion, it's nowhere near as good as the first one. I don't like the focus on Miles Morales. And by the way, I've played the Miles Morales game too. That one I don't have a problem with. Is just that game's just not as good as the first one. I would rather them make separate games.
Don't put your Miles where my Peter is.
Game. You could make a Miles game. I don't think that's a crazy concept. But no, moving forward, Miles Morales will be the lead Spider-Man. Even though he was kind of the lead in this game.
No, he wasn't.
This game's main story was about Harry and Peter's friendship. But it seems like Miles Morales had a lot more focus on him than Peter. And all of the Miles missions, absent the Mysterio missions. I actually liked the Mysterio missions. But anytime it seems like I jumped into a Miles quest, it was revolving around some kind of woke stuff.
Okay, so let's break this down. First of all, like I said earlier, Peter, he even mentions Peter and Harry's relationship. And that's still the main focus of this game. Do not misunderstand that. Does Venom show up a little bit later? Yeah. But there's even sequences where you start a mission as Miles and end up playing the majority of it as Peter. The Coney Island mission. You show up as Miles. You do your first Mysterio side quest. You set those up. Then Miles leaves and goes home. And then you're playing as Peter the rest of the Coney Island mission, including the fight. Miles doesn't even show up. There's multiple scenes in the main story where it is Peter and Harry. Or just Peter. Miles' story is pushed to the side a little bit. His Martin Lee stuff is a big part of it. But again, this story, make no mistake, is about Harry and Peter's relationship and Venom. And Peter's relationship to the symbiote. And he's claiming he's 100% of this game. So either he's just media illiterate or he's just lazy. I'm feeling he's lazy, Or maybe he's just stupid. I don't know. But again, it's only Miles Morales that they do this level of bitching and gold post shit. Goodness gracious. Gold post shifting. And narrative changes. Nobody else. One last clip. And one final thing on that, with the woke shit. Is it because, oh yeah, that's right, because Miles helps a male student ask another male student to homecoming? Is it also woke because you do a side mission as Haley, the deaf girl that is Miles's love interest? Is that woke? Give me a fucking break. Here's another clip from Yellow Flash to round it out.
The entire game. The story tells you how great Miles Morales is. He's amazing. He is the bestest ever. Oh, lousy, lazy old Peter. He sucks. Constantly needs to be saved the entire game. Miles Morales was being propped up that entire game, and then at the end, if you're familiar with wrestling terms, he was pushed over by Peter and made the main Spider-Man. Peter Parker's going on a break. Now, Peter Parker will be in the third one.
You got it. Good job, buddy. Peter Parker is going to be in the third game. That's what people tend to forget. They never said that he was going away. Jeremy touched on it, too, where he said, well, they're just going to keep him in there and bring him back. So, in case they think that the sales aren't going to do well, blah, 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 blah. Whatever excuse. It's just so predictable. And could you argue that Miles' power set is better than Peter's and he seems to be stronger than Peter? You could have that argument. But then you could also look at it and look at what makes Spider-Man great. What makes Peter great? Well, then you find out that Peter has, with the symbiote abilities, he has something different to offer versus Miles' Venom abilities, his Venom shock abilities. Because, you have to do things to make these characters different. But to say that Miles is great and perfect the whole game, are you kidding me? He gets captured by Kraven in this game. He's used as bait in this game. He isn't perfect in this game. He can't. With the fight on the raft, he almost lets people die because he is so focused on trying to kill Martin Lee. He almost lets civilians die. But no, he's perfect and great. They do nothing but build him up. They don't flesh him out and make him a human being. These people are liars when they tell you that they think that they have any sort of authority on this topic. They don't. And I'm not saying that it's because they have a different viewpoint than I do. And that'd be one thing if they had legitimate criticisms. But when a lot of the times, and two of the three YouTubers that I showed you, the two or the three examples, didn't even play the fucking game. So I have no context to why Miles would be in that position. Have no context of how it is. But they think they can read spoilers in an article and have any sort of say in it. Or they have an analysis which is completely wrong. And they think it's serving one agenda, and that agenda is theirs. Where if they truly looked at it with an honest eye, they would understand there's no secret woke agenda. There's no message here. They're just trying to tell their story. And I, for one, has said multiple times, I think they did a great job developing Miles, and I think Miles is a great character in this game. Miles is great in the Spider-Verse movies, too. He's great in the comics. I don't understand why you're so upset about a black Spider-Man. Let's just call it what it is. Let's just say what it is. And if you want me to say that, if you think that I'm insinuating they're racist, fine. But it just seems to me there only is a... You know who doesn't catch this flack? You know who they don't say Spider-Man, they go Peter Parker is Spider-Man, Miles Morales is Miles Morales. They don't say Miguel O'Hara is Miguel O'Hara. They say Miguel O'Hara is Spider-Man 2099, which is ironic because Miles shares more traits with Peter than Miguel does. Miguel doesn't have a spider sense. Miguel can't climb walls. Guess what? That's the point of the fucking Across the Spider-Verse. It's silly to say that Miles isn't Spider-Man and doesn't deserve this. And they want to use Stan Lee's examples. You know what Stan Lee said? You've seen the Larry King clip. You know what he says. He says, I'm glad we made the decision to make his face completely covered. Because we didn't know it at the time. But now we put it where any kid could be Spider-Man. Which was the whole point of the first movie. Anybody could put on the mask. Just takes a good person. But you people don't understand what being a good person is. So that's why you don't like Miles. And you don't really like any of this shit. Thanks so much for watching the first official episode of Trophy Dad. All the other ones are just saying Trophy Dad. This one actually is the first Trophy Dad episode. Didn't expect to come out this hot and angry. Usually this is reserved for video games that I love and video games I'm playing. But I just really wanted to talk about this topic because it pisses me off that people want to discredit Miles, and it just only seems like Miles is the one that catches this flack. Well, what do you think about Miles Morales possibly, I guess, definitively? I don't know how you want to say this, but let me know what you think about Miles being the lead in the Insomniac games going forward. Comment below, let me know. Hit the bell. Well, first hit subscribe, then hit the bell to get notified when you get more videos like Trophy Dad and the clips that we put here on Off Panel Off Topic. Thanks for everything. See, you thought I was going to say watching.